Hello and welcome to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. Today we'll be covering Who's Who, the Definitive Directory of the DC Universe, Volume 5, published in 1985 by DC Comics. We start off with another amazing wraparound cover from regular cover artist George Perez, showing all of the characters covered in this particular volume in a wonderful montage sequence. And again, I point out that Perez is showing these characters interacting in a very fun and innovative way. It's super cool and just highlights the mastery of George Perez when it comes to putting together poster-like presentations of groups of disparate characters. He just does a phenomenal job over and over and over again. Perhaps the greatest, I would say, at this sort of task of assembling characters and presenting them in a fun and innovative way. And lots of characters. The more characters, it seems, the more Perez excels. This volume covers Kronos to Cyclotron. So this is going to pretty much knock out the letter C for us in the alphabet for DC's characters. So let's dive in, quickly covering first our contributors. Len Wein, writer, editor. Marv Wolfman, contributing writer, consulting editor. Robert Greenberger, associate editor, researcher. Todd Klein and Paul Levitz, contributing writers. Peter Sanderson and E. Nelson Bridwell, researchers. Todd Klein, production, and so on. There is, unlike the previous issue we covered, there is some matter here in the front piece. Some letters from fans. Briefly, I'll read a smattering of one of them. Dear Len, when you list the first appearance of the hero or villain, I think the date of that comic that they appeared in should be given. One can figure out that Blue Devil number 6 is recent, but Captain Atom 83 tells me nothing. And this is a great point made by letter writer Derek Furman. And Len acknowledges that and says they're going to take it under advisement moving forward. Of course, that change doesn't occur in this issue, and we'll see if it does occur in subsequent issues. But I've often thought about that myself. With DC's storied history dating back to the World War II era of publishing, some of these characters are 50 years old, even at the publication of this. Well, let's say conservatively 40 years old at the publication of this volume in 1985. So it does provide context to include that date. Whether they do it or not moving forward, we'll see. We start out with Kronos, alter ego David Clinton. First appearance, the Atom number 3. And this is drawn by the inimitable Gil Kane. What a great figure there. Gil Kane is just an awesome artist when it comes to his figure work. Really cool. Not a fan of Gil Kane on Conan, but on many other things, including the Atom, I really like Gil Kane. His Spider-Man was great, too. While possessing no true superpowers, Kronos is a master inventor. So he's a gadget villain who basically can fiddle with time, which is pretty neat. He did briefly serve on the Suicide Squad, which is fun. Next up, we have Cinnamon, great female Western character, drawn by Brent Anderson. Full name unknown. Occupation, professional bounty hunter. Weird Western Tales number 48 is her first appearance. Beautiful work by Brent Anderson here. Next up, we have Circe. Alter ego Nun. Occupation, enchantress. First appearance, Wonder Woman number 305. And she is drawn by Don Heck, who was a longtime Wonder Woman artist. So it's nice, once again, that in many of these instances, they're going to bring in an artist who has some association with the character, which is cool. A powerful enchantress, Circe is capable of transforming any man into an animal that is suitably representative of his inner being. Once transformed, these man-beasts are hers to command. And it doesn't really mention that she has any other powers, although I would think she would have a host of other magical powers as well. We have an entry on the Citadel. Not the military school, but the alien conglomerate that once ruled the Vegan galaxy. They first became known, I think, in Green Lantern at the introduction of the Omega Men. This is great artwork by Todd Smith, who took over The art chores on Omega Men after Keith Giffen left after, I think, 4 or 5 issues. Todd Smith came in and was doing the art for a while. And I think he was eventually succeeded by Sean McManus, who had a pretty long run on the title. So cool, I like that green background there. They were sort of a conglomerate of a number of different aliens. I think these guys were called the Branks. They were also very prominent in that Teen Titans story where Starfire was kidnapped by her evil sister Blackfire and taken back to the Vegan Galaxy. And the Titans, of course, followed and rescued her. That was a great storyline. Next up, Claw the Unconquered. First appearance, Claw the Unconquered, #1. Alter ego, Valkan, Occupation Warrior. And this is artwork by Keith Giffen and Pablo Marcos. Pretty cool stuff. Claw was kind of one of many of DC's sort of aborted attempts at an answer to Conan from Marvel Comics. And I actually think he did a really cool angle. Let's look at his powers and weapons. An Olympic-level athlete and savage hand-to-hand combatant, Claw was a force to be reckoned with even when he had no sword in hand. Though his sword, Moonthorn, was invincible, Claw resented its magical properties and preferred not to use it. His greatest foe was his own right hand, actually the claw of an otherworldly demon. Claw fought a constant battle to prevent the demonic spirit of the hand from possessing him completely, and thus turning him over to the side of the shadow gods. So he had a cool angle. And I think he would later return in a DC title from the mid-90s whose name escapes me. But it was a fun title that I read. I just can't think of it here in the moment. We have a neat entry here on the 3 faces of Clayface, if you will. Clayface 1, 2, and 3. Clayface 1's first appearance was way back in Detective Comics #40, so he is a storied villain. Clayface 2 appeared in Detective Comics 298. That's this fellow right here. And this is kind of a wimpy version of him, drawn by artist Marshall Rogers. And then finally, Clayface 3 appeared in Detective Comics 478. And each version of Clayface had different powers and abilities and was dangerous in a different way. All 3 versions are kind of cool. I did prefer this version here in the center, Clayface 2, and I think he gets a much better treatment in the Batman animated series. He becomes kind of a hulking brute of a character. I like that look better than this like skinny mud guy. I don't know. Clock King. First appearance, World's Finest Comics #111. Alter ego, William Tachman. That's Destiny, if I ever saw it. Great artwork here by classic artist Dan Spiegel. An average athlete and hand-to-hand combatant, the Clock King prefers to use his devious mind to accomplish his goals, all based on his prediction for clocks, or his predilection for clocks and time. He has no special weapons or powers. This is a classic DC villain if there ever was one. Just a weird costume, no powers to speak of, not even any really good combat abilities, just a goofy kind of character. This is the kind of character who John Ostrander would have taken into Suicide Squad and made something out of. Now, he never did take Clock King, but Kronos is an example of another one that he did good work with. Speaking of the devil, here's another one of those characters, Clue Master, Alter Ego Unknown, first appearance Detective Comics 351. Average athlete and hand-to-hand combatant, the Clue Master prefers to rely on the plastic glass pellets attached to the front of his uniform to defeat his foes. And this is Carmine Infantino and Bob Smith art. I kind of like this piece. I've kind of alluded on here, I'm not the biggest Carmine Infantino fan, but this is a nice piece right here. This is Carmine Infantino artwork that I am not terribly fond of. Colonel Computron, what a strange looking character. First appearance, Flash 304. And this is Carmine Infantino and Klaus Janson. Let's just move on. Colonel Future. Great artwork here by Eduardo Barreto. I love this. And this is Colonel Edmund Hamilton. Superman 378 was his first appearance. So he is a Superman villain. Average athlete and highly trained hand-to-hand combatant, Colonel Future also possesses the power to momentarily glimpse the future during life-threatening situations. So I guess that could be useful. More interestingly, here we listen to this. To implement this power, Future has built a machine that puts his life in danger for several seconds at a time, each use giving the Colonel another glimpse of tomorrow. Okay, well, it would require some creative writing to make that work on, but interesting nonetheless. Next up, we have Color Kid, I believe a member of the Legion of Substitute Heroes. First appearance, Adventure Comics 342, art by Keith Giffen and Bob Oxner. This is one of those Legion adjacent characters who was always wanting to be in the Legion, but here are his powers. Ulu Vok can change the color of any type of object. Okay, that's it. That's what he can do. So you can see why he never really made the Legion, as his power isn't particularly useful. Although I would be curious to see what a writer like Grant Morrison or some other writer who's super creative like that could do with such a character. Next up, we have a Legion mainstay, Colossal Boy. First appearance, Action Comics 267. Kim Allen is his alter ego. Art by Steve Lytle and Bill Ray. Very nice artwork. Love the Steve Lytle artwork. His too brief run on Legion was phenomenal. After he left, Greg LaRocque took over and did some incredible work, but I think Lytle stayed on and did a lot of covers. He mainly transitioned to a cover artist later in his career, and man, was he good. Commander Steel. Very cool costume. Always loved this character's costume. Art by Jerry Ordway. This is another character that was drawn by Don Heck when the series was running. So this is Henry Hank Haywood the First. First appearance, Steel #1. 6 feet, 378 pounds. Because I believe he's actually got literal steel in his body, as you can see here. And I don't know if he was pre-Wolverine or not, but it's kind of the same idea where he's got the metal laced into his body. This one's interesting too because we actually get a little bit of specifics in the power area here. An exceptional athlete and highly skilled hand-to-hand combatant, Commander Steel also possesses super strength as a result of his steel-framed alloy in the micromotors in his joints. This enables him to lift a half-ton, outrace a speeding car, and leap great heights. So they're saying he can lift 1,000 pounds, which is fairly specific for the Who's Who. Although here we see him stopping a tank, so that would tell me he's a little stronger than what they're suggesting. Composite Superman. What a strange character. I know nothing about him. First appearance, World's Finest, #142. Joseph Meach is his alter ego. Kurt Swan and Murphy Anderson are our artists. I should add, too, this Jerry Ordway art on Commander Steel is fantastic, as always. Everything Jerry Ordway does for this title is phenomenal. Computo, another great Legion villain. There were some really cool stories surrounding Computo when I was reading the title in the early 80s. Awesome. First appearance, Adventure Comics 340, art by Keith Giffen and Gary Martin. Very cool. Congo Bill, Congorilla. Art by the inimitable Chuck Patton and Frank Giacoia. Really cool. DC loved the ape characters. They had many more sentient ape characters than Marvel, and they really use this is just another variation on a theme here with Congorilla. First appearance, Action Comics #1 as Congorilla, Action Comics 248. So wow. So Congo Bill appeared in Action Comics #1. What a storied character he is. Wow. Then we have another robotic character, the Construct, with art by Howard Bender and again inker Bill Ray. Justice League of America 142 is its first appearance. Powers and weapons. An electronic mind capable of possessing and controlling any electronic machine on Earth. The Construct had no real need of any particular skill in hand-to-hand combat, preferring to utilize its robot cannons to do its dirty work. Where the cannons failed, the construct would take control of living beings by dominating the electronic impulses of their minds. Okay. Very cool here. On to the Controllers, a great group of very powerful Legion villains. First appearance, Adventure Comics 357, art by Jerry Bingham. Really nice artwork here. Personal powers of Controllers are unknown, but if they are at all similar to their distant relatives, the Guardians, they have substantial abilities to alter matter and energy at will. Their physical prowess appears greater than that of the Guardians, but still not significant. As I recall, in a Legion story I read in the 80s, after the Legion of Supervillains saga, there were a sub-team of Legionnaires who were lost for a while, and they encountered a planet of Controllers. And Ultra Boy, who possesses the super strength of Superboy, physically tangled with one of these guys, and they were up to the challenge. So they are a pretty formidable group of foes. Oh, great entry here on Copperhead. Very cool looking character. Always love this character. Just for looks alone. Great artwork by Pat Broderick. Alter Ego Unknown. First appearance, Brave and the Bold, number 78. Nice color choices for the background, that light blue there. Cosmic Boy, Rock Kryn. First appearance, Adventure Comics 247, one of the founding members of the Legion. He obviously, or not obviously, but possesses super magnetism, as you can see here. He's hefting an metal object with his mind. Very cool character. One of the original three, one of the OG Legionnaires. Next up, we have Cosmic King, and don't be confused, he does not have magnetic powers. He actually has the same powers as Element Lad. Legion of Superheroes number 2 is his first appearance. I wonder if that was when they started their Baxter title. I guess that's when he was introduced, huh? Cosmic King has the ability to transmute inanimate objects, changing their elemental composition, structure, or form with unknown limitations. Next up, we have the Council. This is actually some very fun Carmine Infantino artwork. Carmine Infantino and Larry Malstedt, that's cool. First appearance, Daring New Adventures of Supergirl, number 3. A super secret organization dedicated to controlling the world's exchange of information. The Council's maintained a hidden headquarters at the bottom of Lake Michigan near Chicago, from which they launch their various campaigns against the business world. Oh, okay. Anti-capitalists, I guess. Next up is Count Vertigo with excellent artwork by Trevor Von Eden and Dick Giordano. Really cool. Count Werner Vertigo, first appearance, World's Finest Comics, number 251. This is a character, an example of a sort of a fringy, ham and egger kind of third-tier villain who was taken by John Ostrander into the Suicide Squad and made really cool and given an incredible story arc that becomes, I think, a pivotal part of the final issue of Suicide Squad, issue 66. Just really a moving issue, and he's at the center of that story. What a great use of a character who, before he arrived on the scene, was just a fringe loser of a villain. And that's why I love Suicide Squad. Crazy Quilt. Speaking of which, this is a character with excellent artwork here by Jack Kirby and Greg Thexton. First appearance, Boy Commandos number 15. I believe this is the character who was in the second Suicide Squad movie, the James Gunn movie, which I really loved. I thought it was great. And that character in there, and the name of the actor who portrayed him escapes me now, was really fun, really cool. I think that was Crazy Quilt, but it might have been another color manipulating character. I don't know. If I'm wrong or if I've missed the mark there, let me know in the comments, because I'll look it up after. But in recording the video here, I may not have precise information. Next up, the Creature Commandos, another phenomenal entry with artwork from Jerry Ordway here. I loved these characters when I was a kid. First appearance, Weird War Tales number 93. Excuse me. Yeah, so they are Griffith, Taylor, Shreve, Velcro, and Medusa. Pardon me. Really cool characters. Another of those many war books that DC published. Next up, we have the Creeper with great artwork by Dave Gibbons. Alter Ego Jack Ryder. First appearance, Showcase 73. I'm fairly certain that this was a Ditko created character. And it's a shame they couldn't get Ditko to do the artwork for this entry, but man, Dave Gibbons' artwork looks really good here. Next up, the Crime Doctor, Dr. Bradford Thorne, physician and part-time criminal. Detective Comics 494 is his first appearance. And we have nice artwork by Dennis Cohen and Steve Mitchell here. They were often paired together as penciler and inker on various titles. Very gritty entry on the Crime Doctor. The Crime Syndicate. Love it. Art by Paris Collins and Terry Austin. I love the artwork on this entry. My only complaint about this entry is that it doesn't list their first appearance, which bums me out. They consist of Johnny Quick, Owlman, Power Ring, Superwoman, and Ultraman. I remember one of my first introductions to the Crime Syndicate was in Crisis on Infinite Earths #1, when they were battling against essentially what was the Oblivion field that was destroying their world, which I believe is Earth 3. Yeah, on Earth 3, yeah. And it was really moving because they were villains, yet they were fighting to save their world because it was the end of everything. And of course, they were drawn by George Perez. They looked incredible. But this is a very nice entry, too. I love these characters. Next up, Crimson Avenger. Once again, gorgeous artwork by Jerry Ordway. Lee Travis is his character's name. First appearance, Detective Comics #20. Another one of those sort of unpowered Avengers who sort of just runs around engaging in fisticuffs. Very much a pulp character. He definitely looks like a pulp character. Then we have Croc, or Killer Croc, Waylon Jones. First appearance, Batman 357. Artwork by Ed Hannigan, Romeo Tengal, and I love it. I love that purple background, and the montage is really cool. And what's funny is, Powers and Weapons is a little contradictory. Though possessing no true superpowers, Croc is a savage and abnormally strong hand-to-hand combatant, easily capable of killing an opponent with his bare hands, a conscienceless killer, blessed with almost limitless stamina and leather-tough skin. Croc is one of the fiercest foes the Batman has ever faced. I would say he has powers. Like in many of the stories I've read with him, he has displayed limited superhuman strength, and it even says in here he has leather-hard skin, which that's kind of like a power. But I'm picking nits here, but it is fun. This is kind of water cooler comic shop talk that we can get into about these various characters and their capabilities. Love the character. Long and short of it, he's probably in my top 10 Batman villains. And he was fun in the first Suicide Squad movie, although I would say that movie is a disjointed mess. There are things about it that you can like and admire, and I really like their treatment of him. Next up, Cyborg, and of course we have gorgeous George Perez artwork highlighting his entry. Victor Stone, first appearance, DC Comics Presents #26. Victor Stone, or Cyborg, as he calls himself, is incredibly strong, easily able to heft several tons. Cyborg's speed, enhanced through solar power generators, has been increased several-fold, and he can leap great distances. And he has a bunch of other weapons and stuff he can switch off to. His white sound blaster, his finger laser, any number of other cool gadgets that he has, sensory enhancements and things like that. Great looking character, nice entry by George Perez. I mean, he could draw Cyborg and make him look awesome in his sleep. It's just, he's probably second nature to him. And finally, we end this issue with an entry on Cyclotron. Terrence Curtis, All-Star Squadron #21 is his first appearance, and this is another gorgeous Jerry Ordway entry. Wow, it's totally awesome. An interesting thing about Cyclotron, his fight with the original Atom, exposing the original Atom to intense nuclear radiation over a period of time, actually gave the Atom superhuman strength. That's when he changed his costume from the hood here to the crest with the open face piece. just a cool little note there. Always love this character. Visually really cool, this costume design. And nicely done by Jerry Ordway. So let's look at our back cover piece here and see if there's any interesting notes on appearances. Here we go. The Crime Syndicate met their end in Crisis number 1. How sad. Cyclotron died to save his daughter in All-Star Squadron. And let's see what else. Colossal Boy appears regularly in Legion of Superheroes. So fun. Okay. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed our read-through of Who's Who, number 5. If you did, please like and subscribe, tell your friends, and I'll bring you more soon on Scott Reads Comics. Thanks for watching.